must be very excited. Only those who bear those beautiful red eyes are chosen.
Announced back in August this year, in case you didn't get caught up with this one yet. We've got over here at number 1 something called Luna Abyss. This is a narrative-driven, bullet hell first-person shooter. I have reason to believe that's been in the making since 2019, basically when the developers' company were founded. Guys, Luna Abyss is a PC to next generation console game exclusive. It's only rumored to be coming out in March next year, and this is how it'll eventually look. I would say it's definitely a Prey Games inspiration. Take a look.
Come, wanderer, step into the drift. Let me share with you a fragment of my infinite knowledge.
Everything.
505 Games, on the other hand, well, this comes actually from no more than a week ago, came up with something called Crime Bus Raw Case City. Technically at the Game Awards, and what's touted ever since is a stealth action first-person shooter in which you'll work to become a leader at the criminal underworld that's just set in some fictional version of the old-time Florida, somewhere in the 90s. Here's a trailer, game's a single-player / co-op multiplayer with a campaign of course, and set to be coming out March 28th next year.
Boss, we made it to the lobby.
You need the control room to get the skylight open for the chopper.
Camera is dead. Looking for the control room.
Guard is down, but we kept it quiet.
Took out a guard. We got it, man. Now what?
Handle the business.
The son of a bitch is open. One guard is down.
Mira, it's moving.
Don't waste time. Locate the statues.
Dale, team. You know what to do.
You can give a man a gun and make him your weapon.
I've mentioned this one at least several times, and the first time at its reveal, but just in case you didn't get caught up with it yet, Antimatter Games, developers of the old first-person shooter series, came up with the reveal of a brand new entry of a series called IGI Origins. Well, they said the game is now releasing across all gaming platforms sometime next year. In case you're wondering, this is actually a prequel to the 2000 original game IGI, where they're going to be reimagining the series with a modern take on the shooting genre. Take a look.
Sometimes you need to help discriminate friend from foe.
Some omen about the future. Nothing puzzling about it at all.
At number 4, we've got over here a game called Transience, or Science. I'm not really sure. This is a first-person stealth shooter, technically assassination game in which you take on the role of a hired mercenary or something like that, and it's set in the year 2056 in Houston, as a man will technically trying to find his way out of a dip. There's a trailer. The game's set to be coming out for PCs only by the end of 2023.
Simply staying alive. But no one is safe from an accountant.
like to tell you a bit about the game and its progress so far. Hellbridge Vegas is a wave-based first-person solo or co-op shooter.
At number 5 from almost 2 months ago, we've got over here what's touted as a wave-based first-person shooting survival game, or something called Hellbridge Vegas. Well, here, this game is a solo/co-op shooter with and without the connection requirement, and quite a bit in the same vein as a recently released game, Synced Off Planet, although set in some Hellspawn invaded version of Earth. Here's a trailer, game set to be coming to PCs only, possibly around June next year.
The focus has always been centered around creating a fun, exciting and replayable experience that can be enjoyed with friends or alone, striving to beat your previous high scores. So far the progress of the game has been really good, and we are now heading into the beta stage. We hope to release the full game in summer 2023. Please feel free to wishlist the game on Steam, and we hope you enjoy. Thanks.
3D Realms, about a couple of months ago, came out and revealed that they will be taking over the publishing rights for the game Rip Out, which was announced at least a couple of years ago, and what was described to be a co-op first-person shooter or survival horror game. Maybe both. Well, here's the thing. The game is now a next-generation, console-exclusive and PC port. Here's what they came up with in terms of gameplay, and the news that the game is going to be released sometime in 2023. But that is it.
In the wasteland, only one thing matters. Pure genetic material.
Moving on, we've got, well, Behavior Interactive's pretty much newest title. This is the same folks behind the Dead by Daylight games, in case you're wondering. Something over here called Meet Your Maker, a post-apocalyptic first-person building and raiding game where every level is designed by the players themselves. Check it out. There's actually a playtest for the game on Steam, a demo. The full version of it then will come out April 4th next year into PCs and both generation of consoles as well. Shell Soldiers, on the other hand, is something over here described by its developers as an intense first-person dystopian-style shooter where it's going to be featuring some frantic firefights with a diverse set of enemy types ranging from tactics to weaponry and also a large variety of deadly weapons to choose from. That's just a description. I don't really have anything to think about this one, except this is actually to some extent a story-heavy game, which is a good factor for a first-person shooter, considering it's actually set in some distant future, some 2050 post-apocalyptic version of it. It's a trailer, game set to be coming to PCs only sometime next year. Coming up behind that from earlier this year by Team 17, we've got over here Marauders. Guys, this is a first-person multiplayer looter shooter, in case you are new to, set in some 90s alternative future in which you play as a space pirate to explore alien or hostile spaceships, loot, level up and stuff like that. The game just got a new trailer too a few weeks ago and set to be released mid to late October 2023 for PCs only. Moving on to number 10, we've got over here Scath. Guys, Scath was announced almost a year ago to this day, sitting on its early access phase on Steam only. Then it's gonna be released fully early next year. Once it will hit the scheduled target, the game is also gonna be coming to consoles too, except Switch. This is a fast-paced shooter, just like the Doom games, albeit in retro graphics. It's even got some co-op elements, and pretty much all the correct classic first-person shooting game elements, if that's a factor for you. Take a look. Moving on, we've got over here once again Scare Ritual, which is probably one of the most anticipated horror games in making, a co-op FPS, and also the spiritual successor to The Maid of Scare. Check it out, guys. The company behind this one, Wales Interactive, just came out and announced that Scare Ritual will arrive for PCs, Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5, and episodic structures eventually early to mid next year, the first episode of which then is available in its early access phase on Steam since last month. Take a look. Moving on to number 12, from roughly a week ago, we've got over here something called Bulletmancer Strike. This is, or it's gotta be hands down, the most satisfying trailer I've seen in the list myself, of a game that's just somewhere between a Matrix, Max Payne, and even a Fear game. You go and mix up all those, you probably get what we have here. This is a first-person, Max Payne-inspired horror shooting game, and that's all there is to it. The game doesn't even have a Steam page yet, so just make sure to stay tuned for any future updates regarding this one. Coming up behind that, especially if you're into rhythm-based shooters with games like BPM or even a little bit of Doom. Although this ain't a rhythm game based, so to speak, we've got over here something called Warstride Challenges. This is a speed-running first-person shooter in which your goal, except smashing hell out of the enemies, is to race your way to the top. This game is incredibly satisfying and it is also very addicting, I mean, considering how it looks. With the trailer, Warstride is on its way to PCs and next generation from consoles only, early to mid next year.
This city was beautiful.
Sitting on Steam through a playable demo since last week only, we've over here at number 14 something called Outbreak Shades of Horror. This is, as stated by developers, a multiplayer co-op survival horror shooter and a lot inspired by the late 90s game Undead Apocalyptic Nightmare, in which you get to play with or against your friends in even split-screen co-op play. Technically like the Call of Duty's Nazi zombie game modes. We'll check it out, game's set to be coming to PCs and the next generation of consoles only sometime next year. At number 15, we've got over here Ghost Reaper. Fast-paced shooter inspired a lot by Doom Eternal and the gameplay system of the old game Titanfall. Probably what you'd be left with if you were to take bullet per minute, the BPM game, and take away just the rhythm-based stuff. The game's about some future version of Earth where, like, I don't know, Hellboy, the scientists have been able to open a portal to another dimension and now it's a shit show all over the place. Check it out, game's set to be coming to PCs only sometime next year.
And published by Handy Games.
Last but not least, from earlier this year, coming from an indie developer, we've got over here something called Perish, described as a stylish 1 to 4 player first-person shooter in which you play the role of a priest, so a times you get to purge demon spots out of the purgatory yourself mid-fight with the cross. This game is quite a bit inspired by Painkiller series, it's a tad soulsy. The game even has a free demo on Steam and is said to be coming out fully February 2nd next year. Take a look.
Who dream of finding a path to Elysium and the tomb to which they return if their quest to find the afterlife ends violently. Guided and frankly misguided by the priestesses of Orpheus, you, as one of the Amietri, unable or unwilling to perform the Orphic trials in the mortal world, are fighting your way through Pantheon towards Elysium.